Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Bat Chat. I am Captain Logan.
And I am DanzNewz.
And today, we're going to be doing the third episode of Season 3, Batman the Animated Series. We're past our first two-parter, and we're right before our second two-parter. It's just quite a bit of double episodes this season, Dan.
Yeah, I think a lot of series get a lot of gas out of those, especially cartoons, because then you can double the story and actually tell not feature length, but, somewhat of a short film length story, I think.
And I don't know if this was really the problem with the show. I don't necessarily get this sense, but it's when you're a little bit farther into a show like this, and of course this is its last season before the revamp, you might be thinking, well, we don't have as many ideas as we did at the beginning, and we have a few really good ideas, but we don't want to just do a bunch of throwaway filler episodes. So if that was the thinking, that's kind of a smart way to go too. Although I think one of the two-parters this season is the follow-up to Hard Act, which really, if memory serves, did not need 2 episodes.
Yeah, sometimes it definitely feels like they thin it out with a lot of needless action in these episodes. I mean, action feels like a lot of filler in general anyway. There's not a lot of... there's some great choreography sometimes, but it gets a little much after a while sometimes.
Well, and sometimes it's just an action show and Fleischer throwback, like we're always saying, and that works just fine. But you're right. Like, sometimes you'll have an episode that seems like it should be driven more by dialogue and ideas, and it's... it's kind of padded a little bit, but that's not saying this is a bad season or anything. It's just kind of interesting that it's got more two-parters.
Yes.
So we get in now to the episode in which Batman uses state-of-the-art technology to make a virtual boy. So that he can see out of that and see the world when he gets blind. Batman is looking through a virtual boy. He
straps a game kid to his fanny pack and he just goes to town.
Yep, he's got that plug-in thing, and I really wanted him to have like the Power Glove, it's so bad. Yeah, and he jacks that in. We'll talk about that. Everything about that is hilarious.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want to watch the episode with us, it is the third episode of Season 3. Like I said, make sure that you're watching Blind as a Bat, or this will be a very different and odd experience for you. And,
it'll be somewhat of a blind viewing.
That's true. Yeah, we're not going to do what Eric and I did with Daredevil last year or earlier this year.
What'd you do?
We watched it with blindfolds.
Oh my gosh.
We did an entire commentary on that movie.
Can you just close your eyes and, honor system?
Well, actually, we had a joke about that because we both put on blindfolds, and then it occurred to us later that one of us could have taken off a blindfold, and the other one would not have known about it.
Dupe the other one. Well, assuming you're both trustworthy gentlemen.
We were, and I have the footage to prove it. You can go back and look at that. We both definitely kept our blindfolds on. Anyway, we are not doing that today with this.
Great. Let's jack in though. Either way.
If you want to watch it with us, make sure that you've got your DVD or your Amazon Prime rigged up. Get it at timestamp 0 and get ready to press play whenever I say now. Are you ready, Dan?
Ready.
Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
And the silence fell the audience.
Well, I'm getting in the mood.
I mean, this always gets you in the mood no matter what's going on. That's just the way the intro goes. This has some of the best, I think we'll get into it with this episode. I feel like some of the budget was the budget kind of lesser on this third season?
I don't know. I feel like there are episodes where it feels that way and episodes where it doesn't. I mean, it's inconsistent, kind of like the show I think always was.
Yeah, because I mean, the animation in this is some of the best form of animation in the show. Period. I mean, the intro of a show should be that way. But I just feel
proper, not so much.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little skippy at points. I feel not skippy, but I just feel like the detail isn't as much there.
That's fair. Now, that's assuming, of course, that you actually watched the original intro with us just now, because on the DVDs, again, I don't know where the switchover is.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a Lin Wein script, and I believe we're going to see him again in the second part of the Ra's al Ghul episode, although I can't remember where that episode is split between him and Denny O'Neil. I believe.
I believe it was.
I believe that I'm blind.
Not yet.
Oh, I'm jumping ahead.
Or is your blindfold on? He's about to talk about how he had he still has reservations about this. Still has reservations at the demonstration stage of.
Maybe you shouldn't be showing it to a bunch of generals then.
It just seems awfully. They just wanted to create this situation and.
See, Dan, this helicopter has kind of a cloaking device, which we in the field call foreshadowing.
Ah.
See, because ironically, right now, at least with sensors, you can't see that, but later Batman won't be able to see anything. See, we're playing with senses.
The world will have a cloaking device.
Oh, and look, it's that it's that black and red Virtual Boy.
Absolutely, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the same technology? Do they have some mention of that, or do they just? Is this also foreshadowing?
She explains it here as it has a sensor that generates the thing. So is that the same thing that's happening, or I thought that helmet was tapping into his brain and the things were acting as his eyes. But it is the same technology, right? So.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the fact that it's the same technology if it's supposed to be.
Is it this? I don't think it is.
Maybe it's just a whole bunch of visual foreshadowing.
Yeah, I think it's just visual foreshadowing because she explains that as a 3D simulated, like you can see a simulation of the tanks and everything, which is actually kind of forward thinking as far as technology goes. For the time,
you're right. This isn't some of the best animation in the show. It's serviceable. It's fine.
Yeah, and there's some they attempt some far off shots at points where like establishing shots for a room or something like that later, where the lines it's not fine enough. The lines are too thick and it gets a little muddy with the details.
Do you think maybe at this point they feel about Penguin in the show the way we do about their Penguin?
Just like
phone it in when they get to a Penguin episode.
What do we do with them? I don't know. I think the voice actor they have for Penguin obviously is great casting, but I just feel like they don't know what to do with him. But I mean, what do you do with Penguin? I mean, I think the Arkham games kind of found a good spot for him, and that might have been his role in later comics. I never really followed the comics. I'm not super up to date with the comics and all that stuff, but it just sometimes it seems like properties struggle to fill characters' roles. They're just like, oh, this guy's been here forever. What do we do with him?
Yeah, and I don't know if there was any kind of a mandate from Fox or anything where he was in Batman Returns, so we have to use him more often. But if they didn't have a take on him, I don't know why they just didn't use him that much. Yeah. He has a weird number of episodes for being kind of the weakest villain in the show. He's a great
complimentary villain,
or at least weakest of the major villains you've heard of.
Yeah. Oh, this delivery.
Yeah, it's great.
That line reading is literally for the pause.
Yeah, you can see that as a cliffhanger in the middle of a comic book. Mm-hmm. Where you flip the page that I can't see!
Well, I mean, that's pretty much the end. That's not the end of the first act, but I mean, that would be the end of the first, 15 pages or whatever, one issue probably, for sure.
3 or 4, but you could... No, I mean, you're right. You could do that, but also it could easily be, your first big splash page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have to give a lot of pages to that whole intro. What am I thinking?
I think it would be fun to do a story where Batman, for a few issues, like maybe over an arc, is blind, and we use that to kind of compare him to Daredevil without Daredevil actually being, involved. What if Batman had to be Matt Murdock?
Cross worlds.
Well, I mean, that was a crossover. That does. Yeah, the Batman Daredevil does exist, but just somebody take a Daredevil writer and put him on Batman at DC, and don't do a crossover. Just make him blind and see how that person writes it.
That'd be pretty interesting. I like how he
Alfred can't show up because he's blind.
Alfred, he was like he was.
Could just tell him that. Yeah.
Alfred had said he was getting a call on his personal line or something, or something like that. And I don't understand how talking in nuance when Bruce can't see helps him really.
He really needs a bat phone. It's funny they used the bat phone in the Batman Shadow crossover, and they make a really big deal out of it, where Commissioner Gordon is like, he's only used this phone one time, and it was when he got his back broken. It's a big deal. He's calling a second time on the blinking red phone. I love that.
The POV shot right there, I actually thought was kind of neat because it was from the mayor's POV, and he cracks the pencil. But then on the television, they zoom into the penguin's eye. I just like the whole idea of perspective with all that stuff.
Yeah, sure, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's some decent storyboarding in this, but I think what's missing is this show's standard like lighting and coloration. Like it's
really lacking. There's some interesting,
have a lot of atmosphere like the show tends to.
Yeah, they try at points in this episode, like that perspective shot. It's interesting, but it isn't done particularly well.
It almost
that's the thing.
Looks, I mean, unfinished isn't the right word, but it's like we just need to darken this up a little bit.
Yeah, it's very bright.
Especially compared to last episode, which I thought was one of the grittier and muddier looking episodes, and it fit that material really well.
Yeah, most of the time whenever I'm watching an episode that I just toss on, I don't often catch myself thinking the animation isn't up to par, but this episode certainly had some little foibles to it.
Yeah, I also think this is a terrible idea, Leslie Tompkins. You're right.
Once again, somebody completing a project with major objections. It's a trend for this episode.
It's understandable with her because she knows that he is stubborn and he's gonna find some way to do it anyway. So she's got she's doing everything she can to keep him alive.
I'm just saying Bruce didn't need to pay for a murder machine that could easily have been stolen and was immediately.
That's a good point you're making. Yeah. So let's talk about this helmet. It's hilarious.
He's Ant-Man now, right?
Sure. But
Doesn't that look like an Ant-Man helmet?
Okay, so the way he has to plug it in all the time does not really make any sense. First of all, it's kind of weird that he can't develop some kind of wireless technology if he's able to develop this thing. Because, this is insanely highly advanced, but it's still got a cord on the side.
Yeah, and it runs on a battery, and, obviously, you would want to run into they were making a big deal about how it's not ready and/or it's, something they're worried about. And just he's just doing this because he needs to figure out this problem real quick. But
I think part of the problem is terminology, because you say it runs on a battery, and it sounds like it runs on a battery, but she says you have to keep recharging it. But later on, we'll find when he plugs it into the Batplane, whenever he unplugs it, it immediately starts to stop working. And so the battery has no life whatsoever. And a little bit later, we'll see this. It's going to start blinking every time it say like low battery or like it's about to run out. But even if you're running on fumes with a battery, that's not how it works. It doesn't keep kicking in and out intermediately. It will at some point
it just dies.
Stop working. Yeah.
Hey, that's just drama for you. I like that little touch of him literally touching, feeling for the that shot. This is the shot I was talking about with the lines. I wasn't crazy about that shot, establishing shot with the mayor in the office there.
Yeah, that's fair. It was also really dusty, but whatever.
It was what?
It was also really dusty, but whatever.
Yeah, that's true. But then they followed up with a really cool kind of little silhouette shot like that.
I like red Batman eyes. That's fun. It's weird that no one comments on it. Like, be like, "Oh my god, you look horrifying!"
Right at that pause, right there at the end, when he was saying his thing, Batman was saying his stinger line there at the end of the scene. I was just waiting for Bullock to be like, "Hey, why are your eyes red?"
So we were talking about Penguin earlier. I want to make this point, and I might be informed too much by later Penguin stuff, but early mid-90s, we had plenty of Penguin as a mob boss stuff, and we're coming up, like No Man's Land is only 3 or 4 years after this, so I don't think I'm too off base saying this. All you had to do, if you didn't have much of a take on the Penguin, is just make him one of the big crime bosses.
True.
And I'm really not sure why we didn't do that take. We have a lot more of this kind of mock sophisticate thing where he'd like to be a crime boss and he acts like he's creme de la creme, but he can't quite get up there. And I don't know, like Penguin, much of the time, his background, we like to have him be an outcast, and he was made fun of when he was a kid for being fat and for sometimes being freakish because of his fingers, and
sometimes he's malformed.
Yeah, sometimes he's malformed. But
has a weird walk.
But like the way you make him interesting, or at least most of the stories I've read where he's really interesting, is when he leans into that and then punishes people for treating him that way and not allowing it to get him down. And he's just kind of like insecure and sad in not a fun way in this show. The few times that we actually deal with that stuff, and the rest of the time he's just kind of generic.
Yeah, and he's just used as a tool of the story.
It seems like the last thing Batman should be doing right now is flying an airplane.
He's plugged into it, though. He's jacked in, all right? He knows what he's doing. That's
true. But, well, no, he doesn't, because...
yeah, no, he doesn't.
He's gonna pull out of that thing, and I don't know, here's the thing. This is one of those kind of standard easy TV premises. What if your protagonist was mute? What if your protagonist was deaf? What if your protagonist was blind? But at least they kind of add this fun technology angle to it. You know, as
him using
as it obviously is at this point, but this is another one of those episodes that feels a little bit unfortunately dated in the technology department, in a similar way to the What is Reality Riddler episode with the virtual reality.
I don't recall that one off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
There's still some that I haven't seen, surprisingly enough, because this was a series that I always kind of sporadically watched growing up, but I've seen most of them. I don't remember that one off the top of my head.
You should go back to it because it's hilarious.
What? How
seems to get his
poorly judged is it?
It's not great, but it's funny. It's funny. It's one that I saw a lot when I was a kid. So this looks like a submarine before it looks like a helicopter. Yeah.
Yeah. Just bring up sonar, right down periscope.
Yeah, I just want the villains from the 60s Batman movie to be controlling that helicopter.
I love the whole plot of that movie. Their plan to dehydrate the UN.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic.
On
plot
land,
that could never be paralleled.
At sea, it is me. Yeah, can we have that Penguin right now?
yeah, at least somebody who has a shtick outside of. Well, I mean, they do have the umbrellas, but I mean that's in the most basic sense in this. He doesn't have a thing, really. It just seems like, yeah, you're the boss.
You remember the villains in that were they called themselves the United Underworld?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ever since you mentioned the animation in this, I'm not real impressed with it.
Yeah, I think it's coming up here. There's a part where he starts pinballing, and I was just like, meh. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's also kind of a little weird.
Yeah, their perspective was kind of weird. I mean, it's a bold thing to attempt, but a little bit earlier when we got that kind of first-person POV perspective, and it was like rounding corners. It's hard outside of 3D animation to make that look good.
Yeah,
which I think
it's
is
really
why we go to 3D a lot when we do those kinds of shots.
Yeah, it's really tough to do smooth motion, and yeah, like you said, perspective. It's just really, unless you have like reference. Which it seems like they didn't have much reference for this.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You gotta just film a little toy. Just film a toy.
You see that piece of steel that was just sticking out of the front of the Batwing?
Just the flap?
Yeah. That was weird. I wouldn't think... What do you call that? I feel like an idiot. Where you have the big piece of steel that's got the holes in it. Like, why would you have a big, huge piece of that in the front of your Batplane? I wouldn't think that's how that's constructed.
Absolutely not. Batman, see, once again, he approved that.
So
he had reservations. Yeah, the batteries thing.
He's got just enough battery.
Yeah, slapping it's going to help.
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. What was that?
Oh, no, I was being stupid.
That's good. That's your prerogative, Dan.
I was telling him that slapping it would really help. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
Try another frequency. Try another frequency.
See, and now this feels like, what this whole episode, the concept was based on. They just had this idea of what if we had this scenario where Batman's blind. This section is my favorite part of the episode.
But you're right. The whole thing is to build us to here, so we have to contrive this scene.
Yeah, but it
right.
felt like it's so contrived on the way up, But and it has a lot of kind of, like I said before, that when we were talking about filler action, like I felt like a lot of this had, a lot of that flying around Gotham. I mean, it's fun. It is fun. It is certainly an adventure, but it feels a little much when it's not as well animated as a lot of other action throughout the series.
No, I like to think of this as like the cartoon within the cartoon, where like this is the short film they really wanted to make, and you had to. It's almost like 22 minutes is too long.
Yeah, see, that's what they should have done. You do 2-parters and then half episodes.
Yeah, sure.
You have half episodes, full episodes, and 2-parters.
It wouldn't be that hard to give us the little bit of explanation you would need to get us to this situation, right? And we might believe it a little bit more, where it's just, okay, Batman got blinded, now he's got this headset thing. Go.
Yeah, exactly. And, they've demonstrated, one of the, most well-regarded episodes, Almost Got Him, is, a series of shorts. And a lot of the episodes that I love are a series of shorts where, it's characters talking about telling stories. I would love something like that. And it's something that could easily be syndicated as well, because you just air 2 as in the one slot episode, or of an episode.
I have a hard time watching the scene and not thinking of the Tick Cam from the Tick episode Heroes.
Of which one? Which Tick? The cartoon or the
animated series? Yeah.
Oh man, I never watched that one.
Oh, you should. It's wonderful.
I know, and I love the live action series. That's what got me into it. So.
Yeah, the humor in that is wonderfully sophisticated. The animated series, but yeah, there's this. That episode is the Tick goes on a reality show about superheroes that's a spoof of cops, and he at some point, like, he keeps getting cameramen hurt. So at one point they just put a camera that's usually for chimps on his head. And he's in the diner and he walks up to Arthur and he's like, "Come on, Arthur, show him how you chew. Eat that pie."
Most of my knowledge of the Tick outside of the live action series comes from watching videos of you guys talking about the Tick throughout the years, because that's how I found Geekvolution.
That's right, yeah.
So you and your stepfather talking about the live action Tick series.
And when he and I get finished with the TBG videos, which we're going to get back to, we actually have a few in the queue and we haven't edited them, but when we get back to that, we're going to do a commentary series on the Tick. But anyway, I wanted to mention, getting back into this, that sometimes when we get to Batman's perspective and we're looking through that Batcam with the Virtual Boy, it's kind of creepy. It's kind of chilling. Like, imagine if we had the gumption to do more of this scene like that. Like, imagine if we did 2 or 3 full minutes from that POV.
Probably be pretty tough to animate. Very expensive.
Yeah, but that would have been super ambitious. Yeah,
but
you
absolutely.
would offset the cost by the sheer amount of black and fuzz.
What is this catwalk doing here?
Yeah, this is the most Star Wars locale ever in a Batman episode.
Yes. This is the end of a
Episode
Star
3.
Wars movie.
Yeah. Yeah, did you ever watch the riff tracks for that? Where one of them goes, "This looks like, what is it reminding me of? Every video game ever." Yes, every video game ever.
Arlnauts has a really funny, they do fight commentary. They have a really funny video where it's like a ESPN like sports commentator duo.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'm actually a big fan of their channel, though.
Oh yeah, they have a few of those. They have it for Logan, and it's great.
I gotta watch that because I love the Bane videos, and I love the Kylo Ren videos.
Yes. Oh, they do full. Oh, you just gotta check it out. You gotta check it out.
I told you work would work.
How'd you do that blind?
That was amazing, Batman.
Oh, that's such an awesome shot. See, they have good ideas. There's a lot of really good ideas here. I think there's just a lot of poor follow-through, unfortunately. Well, it's all visual, Cap.
Yeah, the thing is, what Well, I know. I'm just saying we're not really, exploring anything especially interesting here. I don't think, because what really does Batman ultimately learn here?
It was just an idea.
It's because he doesn't get close enough to death or failure or anything to think better of this. So I mean, he's likely to be more reckless in the future, right?
Absolutely. He's like, hey, that panned out. I'm going to be more reckless later. Next time he's going to use this as precedent. He's like, next time she refuses to do a surgery, he's like, but remember that time.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's not enough at stake in that scene and that there's not, mistakes he makes that could have gotten him killed, but ultimately, obviously he's gonna make it. It would have been more interesting if that had been a real brush with death episode, where it's some of my favorite Batman stories, and this is why I like Nightfall so much, are when Batman has to really go up against his own mortality and see his own limits, and he kind of does that here, but ultimately this is I can handle anything.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Do you think he goes into some scenarios was like, oh yeah, I'm making it out of this one?
I mean, once you've piloted an airplane blind and then gotten
technically blind,
yeah, and then gotten
with your mind visor,
and then gotten through a lava-ridden Star Wars platform, while you have a thing on your head that is constantly telling you it's not working, but it keeps working. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying the world keeps kind of coalescing to Batman just a little bit.
Yeah, I think Bruce needs to design some sort of AI in all of his Wayne tech that is designed not to kill him no matter what. So, it just feels bad. So maybe it was no, I can't. Yeah, that could be a good mechanism there.
So, next time we're going to start another two-parter, as I alluded to earlier, and it's The Demon's Quest. It is the first big Ra's al Ghul episode, but not the first Talia al Ghul episode, and this is one of the first kind of big continuity-heavy episodes. Well, I mean, there's other stuff that calls back, but it's kind of cool just how continuity-laden this one ends up being.
Yes.
So anyway, we will
I'm
get
excited.
to that.
I'm really excited for this one.
Next week. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I'll drop a nugget in the episode next week. You'll have to tune in to find out, but this one has a close personal attachment for me.
Oh, cool. What will DanzNewz reveal next time?
Is this the first one? Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat chat channel.
We'll see you later. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm DanzNewz.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.